Welcome back. So this is one of my favorite lectures because we are taking a big step from solving just unforced linear differential equations, systems of differential equations, which we have a lot of intuition and powerful techniques for now, to start solving for systems with forcing, so things like control systems. So we know that the solution of this system is something like x at time t equals e to the A matrix t times my initial condition x naught. Okay, so we know how to solve for these unforced dynamics for the solution at any future time by taking the matrix exponential of A times little t, where little t is time. And we can compute this by looking at the eigenvalues and eigenvectors of A. So this should be old hat for us, pretty easy. But now what happens when I add plus b u, where u is some kind of external forcing or disturbance. I think of u as being a control input, some knob that I can change in time to manipulate or change the behavior of my system, maybe make it conform to some nominal engineering objective. How does the solution change when I have this plus bu? Okay, so that's what I'm going to derive today and probably over the next 2 or 3 lectures. And I'll just kind of give away the answer that we're going to still have this initial condition response, but then we're also going to have a term because of this control input, which is going to be an integral from 0 to t, still e to the AT, now e to the A t minus some dummy variable tau times my control matrix B times u of tau d tau. And for those of you who feel pretty comfortable in calculus, you'll recognize that this is actually a convolution integral of this e to the AT minus tau b kernel convolved with my forcing u of tau. So I basically take my initial condition response, the response I get from an initial condition, this e to the AT, and I convolve that with my control input. So it's kind of like my control input is continually giving me something that looks like my initial condition response, and I'm taking the convolution of that in time. So I'm actually going to derive this from scratch in a couple of lectures, maybe next lecture, but for now I'm just going to build your intuition for what kinds of phenomena you get for these forced systems and how we can start isolating this response and this response for really simple inputs u of t, and then we'll build up to this generic arbitrary u of t convolution integral here. Okay, so that's all coming up. Before I start, I think what I want to do, before I jump into kind of the matrix math algebra here, what I want to do is start with a really simple motivating example, just to kind of build your intuition for this. And that simple motivating example is, let's say I want to stabilize an inverted pendulum, okay? So I'm going to, let's see if I can draw this. I hope I can. Okay, so we're going to try to work with this inverted pendulum where maybe our pendulum has some length and some mass at the end of the length. And we are going to be able to apply some control torque. So we're going to be able to apply some control torque. So u of t is going to be a torque that we apply at the bottom. I'm saying torque a lot. Torque is one of those words that's funny the more you say it. I'm going to keep saying torque because I like it. And what we're trying to do is stabilize this thing in the upright position so that it's stable. And we know that the system in the vertical position is unstable. The linearized dynamics will look like a saddle point, so it'll have one positive and one negative eigenvalue. And so if I didn't have this control torque tau, then the system for small perturbations would fall into its stable down position. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this plus bu to modify the dynamics to look more like a stable system even in this upright position. Okay, so our dynamics are something like theta double dot. Our full dynamics of the full nonlinear pendulum is something like theta double dot equals minus sine theta. That's unforced. That's kind of the unforced part. And if I add a torque is a generalized force that acts on angles. So in F equals ma, I would just have plus torque. Torque directly affects theta double dot. And so I can write this as a matrix system of equations, just like we have throughout this entire class. I can write this as a matrix system of equations where maybe what I'll do first is I will write down, theta dot equals omega, and omega dot equals minus sine theta plus tau. And from this, I can write down a matrix system of equations. ddt of theta omega equals omega minus sine theta plus a vector 0 tau. Okay, this is now where we've written this as a system of two coupled first order equations in theta and omega. And now what we want to do is we want to linearize this about the up position where theta equals pi. And I probably shouldn't have drawn theta being measured from the top here. Technically, actually theta is measured. This is a little bit confusing here. This is not actually how I'm measuring theta. I'm actually measuring theta from the down position, so this is theta, and we want theta to be linearized about theta equals pi. Okay, so I take the Jacobian of this. We know how to do this, so I take, let's call this f of x. Then the Jacobian df dx is going to equal partial of this with respect to x. Theta is 0, partial of this with respect to omega is 1, partial of this with respect to theta is minus cosine theta, minus cosine theta, minus cosine theta, and partial of this with respect to omega is 0. Okay, so this is my Jacobian. And at my vertical position, at my theta equals pi position, this df dx at theta equals pi, the upright position, is just going to equal 0, 1, 1, 0. And this is the saddle with lambda equals plus or minus 1. So we know that at the up position it's unstable. Good. So now I can write this equation linearized about the vertical position, and I can see, is there some tau, some torque forcing, some control I can design to change those linear dynamics? Good. So now I have, and maybe I'll just do this over here. So now I have something like ddt of theta omega. My linearized dynamics are going to look like 0, 1, 1, 0 times theta omega plus 0, 1 times my torque tau. So notice that I've kind of taken this torque tau out, and now I've written this as a matrix. That's what my B matrix is. So like literally I can say, this whole thing is A, this whole thing is B, this is my state X, and this is my state X dot, and little tau here is my control input U. So we have literally just taken a nonlinear dynamical system. We've linearized it about a fixed point, about the up position that happens to be unstable. So I sure would like to control this system. Maybe this is a SpaceX rocket launching onto a pad, or a Blue Origin rocket launching or falling onto a pad. And this inverted pendulum, if I don't have control, it's going to topple over and crash. And I need to control this thing to keep it in the vertical position. Okay. And so this is how to take that system and write it in this form. So this is an extremely generic form we're going to see all over the place in control systems. And now I just want to convince you that yes, in fact, there is a good tau, there is a good control strategy tau, a good torque tau that would change the system dynamics and make it look stable. And so in particular, and I have a whole class on control theory, a whole boot camp on control theory. You can go check out the playlist on YouTube. If I don't link it right here, right now in this video, please put in the comments and I will add a link. But there's a whole control boot camp that talks about how to design this tau to change the dynamics of A. I'm just going to present you with a tau that will change the dynamics in a favorable way. So if tau equals minus 2 theta minus 2 omega. And so specifically, I'm assuming, if I can measure theta and omega, then I can stabilize. I'm claiming that. And so in a lot of these control systems, like I as a human inverted pendulum, I'm right now an inverted pendulum, I have a pretty good measurement of my vertical position and my velocity because I have accelerometers in my ear and I have my vision, presumably with enough chemical stimulus, you could make it so my measurements are not reliable and I might fall over. That has in fact happened before. But if you can measure theta and you can measure omega and you feed those back and use those measurements to design a good torque tau, then I claim that we can stabilize the system. And so essentially what that would mean is that this would literally equal a matrix -2 times my state variable x, theta omega. Okay, so this can be written in matrix form like this. And so plus 0, 1 tau, so this 0, 1, this B matrix times U, the 0, 1 tau, is going to equal a matrix 0, 0, -2, -2 times theta omega. Okay, you can convince yourself that this is true. And so now choosing this very specific torque, I didn't tell you how to design this or why this is true. I just, I did some math, in my office a couple minutes ago and wrote this down. And if you choose this tau and plug it in here, now that system will be stable. I'm going to show you that right now. So if I use that particular control input, then ddt of theta omega equals, and it's going to equal this A matrix times my state plus this matrix, this BK times my state, this matrix times this matrix, which is here. So it's this matrix plus this matrix, which is 0, 1, -1, -2 times theta omega. This is my controlled system. So if I measured theta and theta dot, and I fed that back into tau in this exact way, then this is my closed loop controlled system. And you can verify that this has eigenvalues, this has eigs, lambda equals -1 and -1. So you should, fire up Python or MATLAB or do this by hand and just really quickly convince yourself that this has eigenvalues -1 and -1. And so this system is stable. So that's maybe the most important part, is that our controlled system is stable. We have stabilized our control system. Okay, so that's the kind of idea of why we care about these systems. So we care about being able to write down our unforced dynamics, x dot equals ax, but oftentimes those unforced dynamics might be unstable or they might not have the right properties I want. Maybe they are stable, but I don't have the responsiveness I want in my system. Maybe the eigenvalues aren't fast enough for my liking. So if I have a cruise controller in a car, I might want to use control inputs U to tune the dynamics to be more like a race car. Maybe I want to take my Subaru and make it look more like a Ferrari with feedback control. Okay, so there's things you can do like that. And this example is basically just showing you that I can take my system and write it as x dot equals ax. And if I have a control input, often I can write that as plus BU. And under some circumstances, if I design my U correctly, in this case, I'm literally saying, this is equivalent to U equals some matrix times X. This is my U equals some matrix times X. If I use U equals a matrix times X, then X dot equals AX plus BU becomes AX plus B times K times X, and that equals A plus B K X. And so with control, with this forcing input U, I can make my system look different. This will have different eigenvalues, this has different dynamics by using feedback. This is called feedback control, because I'm literally measuring my state X and feeding it back to my controller U, to my input U, I get new dynamics. entirely new dynamics, and I can tune these dynamics to have different eigenvalues, just like we did here. We tuned the dynamics of A plus BK to have stable dynamics to stabilize this inverted pendulum, and that's a generically very, very powerful technique that you can use in control systems. So hopefully I've convinced you that now we have opened this up to a massively bigger set of problems, not just unforced x dot equals ax, but now when you add plus bu, there's a lot more possibilities of getting those dynamics. In the next lecture, I'm going to give you examples of how to start solving this, getting towards deriving this generic form of the solution here. But again, in the back of your mind, you should be thinking, okay, I want to use this for things like control systems and understanding maybe this is a disturbance. How does my system respond when I have disturbances and controls and things like that? So we'll derive all of this, and then there will also be a lecture where I show you how to actually do this in Python and in MATLAB. Cool. Thank you.